as I was talking about right at the end of the triplet lesson, I stumbled across something. I stumble across things all the time. But probably 10 years ago, I was still working on my hands, and I just stumbled across this. I was trying to play a song, a Tom Petty song, called Only the Losers, I think it is. Even the Losers, maybe? Something like that. And I think the pattern is something like this. Okay, that's just a little drum fill. And I was like, wow, that sounds so cool. I want to do that, you know? I wonder how he does that. So I knew there was some double stroke thing going on, but I wasn't quite whether, usually I lean with my right. So let's try it with my right. Okay, that's sort of right, but it's not very smooth. It doesn't sound really what I'm trying for. But this, that really does sound exactly what I want to play. So I said, okay, well, what am I doing? And I mean, when you're playing a double stroke roll in the middle of something, or maybe two, or split up, it's very hard to uncompress it when you're playing it, and try and really figure out what you're doing. And so, luckily, I just bought this actual video camera that you're watching right now, an old Super 8 one. Or 8mm, I should say, not Super 8. That's in the very olden days without sound. Fortunately for me, when I was playing, when there was Super 8, there was no sound. So anyway, so what I did was I just sat here and went. About that many times, played it back. And I sat there and watched, and I was like, okay, well, you're starting with an accent, and then you're doing something down here. So how many notes is that? That's 5 notes. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so what I'm doing is an accent, a rough double on my right, a left soft, and then an accent with my right. So it's and then I thought, this is incredibly easy. Wow, like it just as you can see, my pinky's sticking down. So I thought, okay, well, that's 5 notes. That's pretty quick, but I'm only using one double, and I'm only using one accent, really, because if I play it on the snare, the only accent is really on my right, the last note. So, but what the double gets me is that I can play it repetitively. So I could play. I can play 5s around the kit, or 3s, or whatever. And if you try and play 3s on an even number of drums around the kit, it might not be too difficult. So I'm playing just a traditional one-stroke, single-stroke roll. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's not too difficult if you're playing with 4 drums. Now let's move it to 5, and let's see where we get, okay? Okay, so I'm going to have to modify something in there or I'm going to have to be doing this weird thing on the way back. So, you know, if I play a triplet like this, then it's much easier. Or so same goes for this. As long as I end on the opposite hand that I start the beat with, it's easy to play it repetitively. So in this case, I'm playing a 5-stroke roll, so I'm starting with my left and I'm ending with my right, even though it's a 5-stroke roll. Okay? So just like if I played a 4-stroke roll, I lead with my left, I end with my right. But this, because I slipped in the double, so then I began to think, okay, now, consciously, where can I take this? So I thought, well, let's try and add another double in there. So I said, okay, I'm going to play a single, and then a double, and then 2 singles. So I'm going to play this. So that's a 7-stroke roll. Now I'm playing it in time. So if you compress that, and immediately you've got this incredible facility on playing odd note patterns, and you can extend it to 9, 11, 13, 15, whatever you want, any odd number, and you can play it repetitively. So once you get your doubles nicely with the finger control, you can even play it on a 16-inch floor tom. You can develop something tremendously just by accidentally happening on it. And you know what? To this day, I don't know whether that's actually what he's playing. That's how I play it. Sounds the same, but I don't know whether that's the exact sticking. For all I know, he's doing it this way. But it doesn't matter because it's the right number of hits, it's the right dynamics, and it's what he's playing, what the sound of the music is. So, if you find a pattern that you want to mimic, always remember that they're playing it, there's a way to play it, and just experiment and try and uncompress it and figure out what they're doing, count the number of notes, and then go through all the different permutations that you can to get that number of notes played that with those dynamics, and you'll come up with all kinds of stuff, even trying to find out what it is. And that's the beauty of it, is that there's unlimited numbers of permutations on this stuff. And so, you know, no matter how hard it sounds, at first, it's not really that hard. So, you know, if I play 7 notes on the hi-hat, it sounds incredible. I'm not playing that fast. I'm really not. I mean, it's just utterly effortless. And then once you start screwing around with your left foot here, you know, you've got all kinds of stuff happening. And that's all based on that 7-note pattern.